Welcome to LC Screen Talk. My name is Larry, and this is my review of Bad Boys for Life. In addition to that tiny poster, they also gave out these humongous posters and some little Bad Boys for Life fanny packs. What? And Bad Boys for Life ring holders for your phone. As for the film, Bad Boys for Life is the third installment in the Bad Boys franchise. The story picks up 17 years after Bad Boys 2, with Mike and Marcus aging out of the detective scene. Or at least Marcus hopes so. But when things start to get a little bit personal for Mike, they are sucked back into the action. The Bad Boys is one of those franchises that I know a lot of people love and have been asking and asking and asking, when are we getting a third installment? It actually took them nearly a decade to pump out a sequel for the first Bad Boys, and as I just said, here we are 17 years later, and we're getting a third installment to this trilogy. And this time around, we are getting a new set of directors. That's right, Michael Bay is not returning to direct the third installment. However, Will Smith and Martin Lawrence did return to reprise their roles. Now, I enjoyed the first Bad Boys. I definitely think it's kind of a fun comedy action film. Second one, no thank you. Wasn't for me at all. And I could take or leave a sequel. I wasn't like dreading getting another Bad Boys film, but I certainly was not one that was like clamoring and begging for it. So I was trying to go in with an open mind. I thought the trailers looked okay, but they didn't really excite me to go see this. And in the end, I basically think the film is just okay. So let's go ahead and kick things off with our positives. Well, my biggest positive is the camaraderie and relationship, the rapport with Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. Thank goodness they did not even try to do this film with like just young agents and not having these two in the leads, because it is their rapport, their connection, their chemistry that holds this entire film together at all. Will Smith is definitely fun, but I certainly found Martin Lawrence to be the standout amongst the entire cast. Martin Lawrence definitely is the one who gets all of the laughs, and he brings some energy to the film. Our new cast, they work to varying degrees, but again, it's this connection, this chemistry, this friendship that makes this movie move. And thanks to that chemistry, we get a good feeling of cohesion. Even though we have switched directors, this feels like a natural progression of the story. It feels like it's part of those first two. We don't do a complete 180. It doesn't feel like a completely new franchise or a boot to something new. That's certainly a positive. I also enjoy some of the issues that they try to bring up. Of course, we're delving into like old man syndrome, where you're dealing with these older cops, these older folks in their profession, in a physical profession, trying to learn and adapt and change while bringing their own aspects to the ratio. We definitely do deal with the idea of consequences, though it's horribly fumbled, and we'll get to that in a second. I like the idea of aging people who have to kind of evaluate their position and their role. I would definitely think there are some fun action set pieces as well that do blend the kind of comedy action that the series is known for. Plus, there's a really fun cameo that pays homage to the first two. I'm not going to spoil it, but you'll certainly know it when you see it. So, let's go ahead and talk about the negatives. Well, I mentioned the story and what this film was trying to say, and it horribly fumbled it for me. We start down this path of consequences, Martin Lawrence's character really bringing it up a lot, and then Will Smith's character seeming to go down the path of facing the consequence of his previous actions, but that is just thrown out the window in the third act of this film. It's played for a joke, thrown to the trash, and screw consequences, screw trying to evolve, screw trying to better yourself as a human. And I found that to be so disappointing. Granted, the third act gives us some fun action set pieces, but I was hoping we were evolving. Coming off of that, there are no consequences or consistencies when it comes to injury in this film. I mean, one second somebody is legitimately in a wheelchair, and literally the next second they are running around like they weren't injured at all. And that happens over and over and over in this film. Someone's hurt, they do something super strong, and then they fall back down to basically being dead. We do some over the top foolishness, like people are taking out beams. It's crazy, it's cheesy. I found it to be ridiculous, but I think others might find it to be fun. These are my negatives, though. Also, this story is just so convoluted. Oh my gosh, it was too much. The script in general, actually, is just absolutely terrible. The way that this story unfolds is supposed to be shocking and revolutionary, but it really is a hot mess that just folds in upon itself. We fall back on cliches and old actiony type of stereotypes of yes, everybody knows everyone and everything is connected back to everything else, and it's just like, oh, come on. Thankfully, one of the revelations give us all of Martin Lawrence's best jokes, but overall, you're like, oh, really? Plus, this dialogue is wretched, especially when you're not just letting Lawrence riff. It's like, oof, yeah, okay. Oh, the new characters, I am like, oh gosh, okay. Vanessa Hudgens' character is fine, actually. She's my favorite of our new kids. Then Homeboy from Hunger Games could have been so good, but then they give him this horrific backstory that I was like, oh, we went there, huh? Okay. And then we have the guy from The Sun Is Also a Star who was horrible. Like, his character in this film is terrible, and I hated him. I hated his inclusion. I hated that he had to be there. I hated where they took his character. It was all just terrible. And then we get to the direction, which I found to be horrible as well. There are some nice shots in here. The editing, oh my gosh, the way that this film was edited was terrible, with literal sound effects to go with the swipes. The shots that it swipes to are so incoherent. The shots that we get are just baffling at points. I don't know. The editing literally blew my mind at just how poorly done it was. Just really poorly executed on all technical aspects when it comes to the visuals of this film. The effects, okay. Everything else, yuck. And overall, it just felt like a film from the early 2000s, the late 90s, early 2000s action comedy, right down to the yuck masculine jokes, the outdated themes and ideas, and the just feel of cheesy action comedy, right down to the bland, cheesy look of it all. So overall, Bad Boys for Life was an unnecessary sequel, ultimately, that showed signs of growth and moving the franchise forward, but then just reverted back to all of the tropes we would rather have left in 2003. But for big fans of the franchise, for people that have been waiting these 17 years for a third installment, I do think you'll have fun with this. It is in vein with the other two, with the same type of jokes, same type of atmosphere. And thankfully, Martin Lawrence and Will Smith have wonderful chemistry yet again. So I would say go see this in the theater if you are a Bad Boys fan. You'll get the laughs, you'll get the big cheesy action that you're hoping for. And I think you will have a very good time, actually. So if you're a big Bad Boys fan, this is probably a full price ticket, if I'm being honest. Otherwise, if you're someone who was like, why are we getting another Bad Boys film? You can skip this one altogether. It doesn't offer anything new, interesting, honestly. And if you're looking for just kind of a generic, fun action comedy, it's worth a rental for sure. So, that is my review of Bad Boys for Life. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click like down below, and subscribe to the channel so you are always up to date on my latest videos. Also, join in on the discussion. Are you excited to see Bad Boys for Life? And what are your thoughts on the first two Bad Boys films? Let me know either in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your continued support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!